my gosh, is that a bomb from Iran? Oh my gosh. Oh. If only an Iranian nuke actually existed, that joke would have made sense. So that's obviously what we're talking about this week. The preemptive strike on Iran by Israel, where they were like, you know what? Let's get quirky. And Israel launched an attack on a nuclear site in Iran, as well as torpedoed an apartment building that I guess a supposed nuclear scientist was in. And so, yeah, they torpedoed a apartment building, killing, I presume, everyone in the building. They've killed a lot of civilians at this point in Iran. And, of course, the first response from the U.S. was to go, so we're going to probably join the war. So here's the footage, I believe, of Iran being struck by a missile. Oh yeah, by the way, Benjamin Netanyahu fled to Greece. Just an FYI. I got a ton of footage. So, Iran was struck by an Israeli missile. They were basically attacked. I mean, let's be real here. They were attacked. According to Israel, they were 5 seconds to midnight. This is like the 5,000th time they've claimed Iran has nukes. Here's a literal timeline of Israel claiming that Iran has nukes. They said in 1992 that Iran is 3 to 5 years away from nuclear capability. They then said in 1995, and I'm going to skip over some of these, 1995 that Iran is 3 to 5 years from nuclear capability. They then said that Iran's nuclear program in 2003 is a global threat. Then in the next year they said Iran is aggressively pursuing nuclear weapons. Then said Iran's nuclear ambitions must be stopped in 2005. In 2006, they said Iran could have a nuke soon. 2007, Iran racing to develop nuclear weapons. 2008, Iran's nuclear program nearing completion. 2009, Iran 1 to 2 years from nuclear capability. 2010, Iran could produce a bomb within a year. 2011, Iran is steadily moving towards nuclear weapons. So it's been 20 years at this point. Iran, months away, will complete enrichment by spring/summer of 2013. Skipping ahead, because the Iran nuclear deal took place, so obviously evil Jew-hating anti-Zionist Barack Obama prevented Israel from using their favorite talking point. In 2021, they said Iran is closer than ever to nuclear weapons. Keep in mind, by the way, they skipped over the parts of the Trump administration that the Iran nuclear deal didn't exist for. 2022, Iran weeks away from nuclear breakout. This is 30 years after the first statement. 2023, Iran advancing nuclear enrichment. 2024, Iran dangerously close to nuclear bomb, which, you know, I talked about I talked about when they were attacking Iran back in 2024. I believe the episode was like War, the Republic is Crumbling. And then I think there was another one about it too, where I list Iran in the title. Iran dangerously close to nuclear bomb. That was 2024. 2025, Iran days away from enriching uranium for a bomb. If you ask me at this point, Iran should have made a nuclear bomb. Just for self-preservation. At this point. You know, they wouldn't be getting bombed right now if they had just made a nuke. Unfortunately, with the absence of nuclear dearmament, the only deterrent from being attacked by the United States and its allies for basically no reason is to build a nuclear bomb. Trump tweeted out, I don't even think it was a tweet. I think it was a truth. It was a truth social post. What do they call those posts? He posted a truth that Tehran should clear out. He cannot say that about literally any other country. Imagine if he said, Pyongyang, clear out. We would have nuclear weapons pointed at us almost immediately. We would be quite literally this close to the nuclear holocaust if he said something as idiotic as that. I have plenty of footage of Israel getting hit by missiles. I believe a lot of these are just the same angle. So I'm going to play them in a particular order. Let's see, this one I'm going to have to play in incognito, Instagram. So here's like a view of missiles raining down onto Israel. I don't want to hear what they're saying. So you can see the missiles raining down. A lot of these hits are from the Iron Dome. A few of these missiles do actually land on the ground. Pretty interesting stuff. Ow. Pretty interesting footage there, but there's closer footage. Now, this guy is filming from his porch. There's like a certain smugness to his attitude towards the bombings, because the Iron Dome is catching a lot of these missiles, and he's kind of just like, oh, whatever, you know, big deal. And I just want you to watch what happens.
Okay.
Okay. Here's another angle of that same missile strike, I believe. Yeah, I believe this is the same strike. I could obviously be wrong, but I know that all these clips come from Tel Aviv. So, you know, the Iron Dome fires off a few missiles to intercept. Pretty insane. Apparently it hit a military complex, which makes you start to question, why are there IDF military complexes inside of Tel Aviv, in the middle of civilian areas? Yo, this photo's crazy. This looks like a long, this looks like an open shutter exposure type of photo of all the missiles over Tel Aviv. This photo's crazy looking. Whoa. Look at that. What a photo, man. I gotta say, I've never really looked at a photo of Tel Aviv. I hate Israel, but that's a neat little city. If only Palestinians could live there. And could, like, have equal rights. And it not be a city that exists only in a Jewish ethno-state. And instead a city that exists in a country where there's equal rights for all. And everyone lives in harmony. And peacefully. Anyways. Sorry, I read a comment that I was about to start going nuts. Here's some more footage, apparently, of Iran's strikes on Israel. I think this is like a compilation of strikes. Wow. Eesh. Why does it look like that there? It's cloudy as shit. Is that just what the weather looks like there at the moment? God, dude, every photo I see of Israel is like, just looks like shit there. It's like the fact that they're there, like, just makes it a worse place to be in. Like the fact that right-wing racist Zionists live there just makes the environment look horrible. Here's this. Tel Aviv got hit, so I had to throw something on the grill. I'm just so tired. I'm so tired. We are only scratching the surface. I wrote all this stuff down when all of this started. So we're just getting started. If you've been out of the loop, there's about to be someone you're about to agree with that's in the stock, and you're going to be shocked that you agree with them. So the Trump administration is like kind of being like, no, we're not going to participate in Israel's war with Iran. But then they're like also arming Israel. They're also like openly supporting them. Netanyahu keeps trying to bait the US into joining the war effort by saying like, look, Iran wants to kill Donald Trump. They said this. They want to kill Donald Trump. Isn't that crazy? Iran said these things. But one thing that stood out to me is this psychopathic text message that Trump received from Mike Huckabee. I didn't even... why is the screenshot so large? Oh my god. This screenshot's insane. Can I really not zoom in on the fucking screenshot? Are you kidding me? Give me it. Just wanted to zoom in. All right, here we go. Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders, I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters. His voice. I just realized that he capitalizes sir. That's so pathetic. Sir in that sentence is referring to Donald Trump. I'm appointed servant in this land and am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. The Truman line, by the way, seems to be heavily implied that he wants Trump to nuke Iran. And what a disaster that would be if he nuked Iran. Do you think a nuclear holocaust would break out if he dropped a nuclear bomb on Iran? I mean, who are Iran's allies at this point? Only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you, Mike Huckabee. What the fuck? Note that all this dude's job is to just sit in an embassy. He has probably one of the easiest jobs in the government right now, and it's to sit in the Israeli embassy and do nothing. So said, I love the idea that God chose to spare Trump and redirect the bullet to a random firefighter's neck. Yeah. I think it's really disgusting, the 1945 line. I think that really does imply that he wants Trump to nuke Iran. This whole, so Iran said like on Tuesday night that, or on like the middle of the day, Tuesday here at least, I think it was Tuesday night in Iran, they said that they're about to do something that the whole world will remember for centuries. This whole thing is giving me like this weird existential dread, like a mortality that I have never felt in my entire life. As an American, generally, I, enjoy the privilege of never really having to experience war in my life, which is not a privilege that a lot of people have. And it's one of those things where I know, like, we have oceans surrounding us, and I've never lived in a time where, because I was born after 9/11, I've never lived in a time where I've had to worry about like fighter jets flying overhead and bombing cities, and missiles flying overhead, and soldiers invading cities that I live in. Like, I've never had to deal with that. I've never lived in a world where I've personally had to experience that. There's something about this current situation, even with like when Trump killed that general in January 2020, Soleimani, or when Israel killed that Iranian ambassador and in Syria, and then Iran struck Israel with a missile. Even during all of those instances, I never felt any kind of dread. I'm feeling a lot of dread. I think I'm slowly seeing my time coming for therapy. I think I'm slowly realizing I'm getting closer and closer to having to probably go to a therapist.
The Department of Defense, or as the Reddit mods over at the Department of Defense call it, the Department of War, are calling it the Operation Epic Fury. Operation Epic Fury, folks. Operation Big Chungus Epic Fortnite, Winner Chicken Dinner, Epic W in Iran, Operation Epic, Super Epic. I mean, what the fuck? I knew a kid when I was in high school who would say epic a lot, and that was when that meme was like still relevant. That was 7 fucking years ago, folks. That was 7 years ago. And we're calling shit Operation Epic Fury. Why? What the fuck? Trump is now the first president in the 21st century to launch a missile strike on Iran. To attack Iran really at all. I mean, he's launched strikes on Iranians before. He killed, Soleimani in 2020, and he killed another top-ranking Iranian official as well. But this is the first time he's struck Iran the way that he has. He killed the Ayatollah. The IRGC command structure is still intact, and they've now decentralized and enacted the Mosaic system, where there's a bunch of decentralized groups across the Middle East that are all under Iranian control, but can operate independently of there being a supreme leader. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but What the fuck was the point of this whole thing? Why is the United States going to war with Iran? Infamously, Donald Trump criticized Barack Obama for the idea that he might go to war with Iran, which, ended up, in hindsight, he created the Iran nuclear deal, which was the safest we've ever been with Iran. And then Trump pulled us out of it and then violated certain parts of it by putting sanctions on Iran, which caused the deal to ultimately fall apart. But here's what Donald Trump had to say in 2011 about Barack Obama potentially starting a war with Iran.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran. Now, I'm more militant and more militaristic than the president. I believe in strength. But to start a war in order to get elected, and I believe that's going to happen, would be an outrage. Iran can be taken down in many ways. Their population is in turmoil. They look at what's happening in Syria and other countries where it looked like it was an impossibility, and it looks like that one's going to collapse also. So Iran can be taken. I would never take the military card off the table. And it's possible that it'll have to be used because Iran cannot have nuclear weapons.
So clearly he's been holding on to that for the last 15 years. It seems like he always wanted to go to war with Iran. Here's how Trump announced that we were going to war.
Seeks to kill.
Folks, I gotta say, this shit's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing, for one thing, that we're even going to war in the first place, that we're now spending another $1 billion+ which will soon snowball into being $1 trillion, and then that will snowball into being $2 trillion, and so on and so forth. It's already embarrassing enough that we're doing that to go to war with Iran. But here's what the president looked like while announcing that we were going to war with Iran.
The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service.
He's wearing this ridiculous trucker's hat. He's not even wearing the full formal suit, which they would have eviscerated Obama for, by the way. And he's not in the White House. He's clearly in Mar-a-Lago. Also, him saying the whole Lord Farquaad thing, the whole, some of you may die, but that is a price I am willing to pay.
The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future.
But some of you are going to have to fucking die for our oil. That's right. So yeah, we announced a war. We have officially struck Iran, and it's not just the U.S. going to war with Iran. This war was not, more than likely, not our idea alone. Although the U.S. has never met a war it didn't want to fight and burned money on, it seems that this war was primarily started from the fact that Israel wanted to go to war with Iran. And listen to this. I mean, Trump won't rule out sending U.S. troops to the ground. He said, quote, "I don't care about polling." Dog. This is clearly Israel's war. Benjamin Netanyahu's been wanting to go to war for years now. I mean, here's clips of him saying for the last 30 years that Iran is, minutes away from having a nuclear bomb.
Not stopped. Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, he's been saying this shit for 30 years, man. That Iran could have a nuclear weapon at any moment. And in classic Israeli fashion, Israel launched, U.S. and Israel launched an airstrike at a all-girls school in Iran. So far have killed at least 153 girls in the strike between the ages of 7 and 12. Classic Israeli fashion. Within the first day of the war, they've already bombed a school, and since then have bombed at least 9 hospitals. Remember 2.5 years ago on this very podcast, when people were trying to be, I was talking about when people were trying to say that, oh, there's no way Israel struck a hospital in Gaza. They wouldn't do something like that. But if they did do something like that, Hamas is under the hospital. And, more than likely it was a Hamas missile that launched into the air and dropped right back down into the hospital. And remember how everybody was saying that it was unlikely that the most moral nation on earth would drop a bomb on a hospital. And since then, they've destroyed almost every hospital in Gaza. And they've already begun in Iran. And this should show you the big ideological difference between the U.S. and Iran. The U.S. wants regime change. They want a foothold in the region. They want more control over the region. They already have Saudi Arabia at their disposal. They've destabilized Iraq, destabilized Afghanistan, and caused it to where now both of those countries will probably not have any tangible threat to the U.S. for the next 20 years. They've got Israel in the region, who's actively destabilizing Lebanon, constantly bombing Syria, keeping a close eye on Jordan, bombing and genociding the people in Gaza, and have full control over the West Bank. The UAE is in our back pocket. Qatar is in our back pocket. Israel can launch a strike on Qatar and kill a Hamas official, and Qatar does nothing in response. We've got full control over the region, and the one place we don't have control over is Iran. They are like the one place that we have not put a dent in until now. And so the U.S. wants that. They want to destabilize Iran so they have a hold over it the same way they have a hold over Afghanistan and Iraq. What Israel wants is complete Iranian destruction. They want to do to Iran what they've been doing to Gaza this entire time. They want total annihilation of the Iranians because they want that region. If we allowed them, they would bulldoze through Jordan, bulldoze through Iraq, and then bulldoze through Iran and take that land. They're already seemingly setting their sights on Turkey. And if you've seen the Greater Israel Plan, Jordan, Iraq, Turkey, those are all part of it. The Sinai Peninsula, pieces of it, all part of that Greater Israel Plan. That's the goal here. Is the U.S. wants destabilization with some level of control over the Iranian government, probably installing some form of another Shah, like they did, 60 or 70 years ago. While Israel wants to see the entire region collapse, and they would rather glass the region than have to deal with another governmental change, with another regime change. And both of these paths are wrong. First of all, I mean, who's pro-genocide in this audience? But second of all, regime change? Why do we keep doing this? We kidnap Maduro from Venezuela and promise regime change. Why? What business is it of us to be meddling in the affairs of another government? We go into Iran and we bomb and kill the supreme leader. One, now you've just martyred him for the rest of Iran. Now they have something to fight for. Because while the IRGC might be evil, the IRGC, tyrannically imprisoning people, murdering protesters, murdering Iranian citizens, you've now made a greater evil. Something to unify the violent regime and the citizens of Iran, the 90 million people living in Iran. You've now given them the great unifier, which is their hatred of the United States and its meddling affairs in Iranian politics and Israel, a poisonous force in the region. Who's to stop a leader from going, I don't like how Trump is treating his people. Trump is killing protesters who protest ICE. He's imprisoning people for free speech. He's deporting people for free speech. He's imprisoning them in concentration camps and labor camps for their free speech. I don't like that. Let's, I don't even know if I can really say that in this hypothetical scenario, but let's say that they're like, let's take out him. What's to stop a country from doing that? Because they'd be using the same justification that we use for going into other countries and bombing them. It's the justification we've used for Saddam Hussein. He's a violent dictator who's developing weapons of mass destruction to destroy our way of life. And so we got to go in and take him out. And then we got to occupy the region for the next 15 years. It's the same justification we use. Oh, we're going into Iran to destroy the violent supreme leader for regime change. Why? It's none of our business. We've made it our business, and now the people living there are pissed. Here's Congress's reaction to this whole thing. So you might realize that, during this whole thing, I never said that we declared war on Iran. And here's what Congress thinks of this. Thomas Massie calls it acts of war unauthorized by Congress. And then him and Ro Khanna develop a War Powers Act to basically see who will side with the executive branch in launching these strikes. Who will allow them to drag us into yet another war? Will Congress, will congressional members continue to allow Trump to operate unconstitutionally by starting wars and bypassing Congress's need to declare that war? And we got our answer. The bill, hit the Senate. And the bill failed. 47 Democrats and 53 people said no. 47 yes, 53 no. And you know who said no on the Democrat side? John Fetterman. John Fetterman said no. John Fetterman actually is one of the most vocal supporters of this war. Here's his response to Thomas Massie's comments about this being an act of war that bypasses Congress.
Well, I mean, what I can say is that why can't we all just celebrate what happened today? That was just profound and incredible. And as you pointed out, as the president did, this was one of the most evil people that ever lived. And after 37 years in Iran, he's been eliminated.
like Thomas Massey, who wrote this: acts of war unauthorized by Congress. The U.S. is attacking Iran, according to the AP. What is your response to Massey and to your colleagues who don't agree with this?
No, that's bizarre. I'd like to remind my colleague over in the House that Iran massacred 30,000 of their own people right now. This war is not about the Iranian people. It's about this poisonous regime. And that's why I'm proud to stand with our
Keep in mind, regime change, because Iran's killing protesters, is not the reason given for why they've started this war. It's not the reason they gave. The reason that Marco Rubio gave was that we went to war for Israel. That Israel's the one that dragged us into this war, pressured us into this war. Pressured. Like I said, the U.S. hasn't met a war it didn't want to fight. But Iran killing protesters is not the reason given by the Trump administration.
I'm proud to stand with Israel, too. I might be a Democrat, but in this specific case,
he is not a Democrat. Let's be so for real. He's not a Democrat anymore, man. He's really not. He's more of a war hawk than like Republicans are. The average Republican. He's not a Democrat anymore. He doesn't agree with the Dems on almost anything. If Trump came out tomorrow and said the N-word, he'd be the first one on TV defending it. He loves defending the Trump Republicans. As long as they love Israel, he loves them.
the president is absolutely correct to do these kinds of actions. And now we have Israel's back. And now that's why it's entirely the path for peace in that region. How many treaties, how much negotiation? I never thought they would work. Iran has only ever responded to these kinds of things. And now here we are right now, and they have the opportunity.
No, it hasn't. We were in the middle of negotiations with Iran before this. We were literally in the middle of negotiating, with them in regards to nuclear weapon manufacturing and all this stuff. We were literally in the middle of negotiating with them when we did this. They were conceding on stuff that was unprecedented. They were so ready. They just want to be left alone. They just want us to leave them alone. Oh my God. It's so ridiculous. Oh, Iran's so evil and violent that they won't even come to the table and talk. They did. They fucking did. They came to the table. They made the Iran nuclear deal with us and multiple other countries. And Trump threw it in the garbage. They were negotiating with us again. And then we threw that in the garbage too by launching fucking missile strikes at them. Oh my God. I can't keep listening to Shrek, man. Jeez Louise. Here's what Lindsey Graham had to say about the war in Iran. He said, if any Americans die in this war, they will die a noble death, having sacrificed their lives to make Israel and the United States safer. To make Israel safer. Only tacked on the United States part. Because he had to. Iran was no... I'm so sleepy. Iran was no serious threat to the United States homeland. And so then 4 soldiers were killed in this war. Lindsey Graham said, I know the fallen would want us to continue. 4 people have died for Israel. Now 6 have died for Israel. How much longer are we going to put up with people letting Israel control our government? Think about it, dude. AIPAC has a foothold in every congressperson, pretty much. With the exception of J Street scooping up the rest of them. They've got such a hold on us. For what? So, 6 people have now died for Israel. Ted Cruz comes out. He admits there's no credible intelligence that Iran had nuclear weapons.
It's almost like they want to illustrate to the world just how malign they are.
But in terms of containing the risk, who's securing the nuclear material that you say still exists within Iran? Who's doing that?
Look, the quantity of nuclear material, I didn't say anything one way or another on that. What I said is they were building nuclear weapons a year ago, and our bombing took that out. They also had an ongoing desire to rebuild them. I don't have...
Oh, they had an ongoing desire to rebuild them? Your Honor, this was a vibes-based war. I kind of caught a vibe that Iran kind of wanted to dabble in some weapons manufacturing. So, I bombed a school and killed 153 children. But, Your Honor, I vibe-checked them, and they said they wanted... I got the vibe that they were going to build more weapons. Come on, Your Honor. What's the big deal? Jeez Louise, man. They had an ongoing desire to rebuild them. What the fuck does that even mean? How do you know that? Also, clearly they had... Dude, they were right to want to rebuild them. We just launched a war on them. If they had nukes, we wouldn't be doing this right now. Yeah, if they had nukes, we wouldn't be fighting them right now in a war for Israel. We just wouldn't. There's a reason why we don't attack China directly. Why during the Cold War we fought and funded proxy wars. Because if the two big superpowers clash directly, there's a chance of a nuclear bomb flying. That's why it's like, yeah, Iran probably should have built a nuke at this point. We would have left them the fuck alone.
Present day intelligence on what progress they had made towards rebuilding nuclear weapons since we bombed their facilities. I have no indication that they were anywhere close to getting nuclear weapons because our bombing was devastating.
Oh my God. Literally has zero evidence of a nuclear weapon threat, which is like the whole justification that they're using for this war. Mark Warner says, I saw no intel that Iran was on the verge of launching any kind of preemptive strike against the United States.
There's still got to be a case to the American people. And again, this was the guy that was going to keep us out of endless wars in the Middle East.
I have a couple of follow-ups to some of the things you just said. First of all, you have access to intelligence that few other people have. The president said in the video he put out that there was a possibility that the Iranians could use missiles that could strike the American homeland. Senior administration officials said that the timing was chosen because they saw intelligence that the Iranians were going to launch preeminent strikes. Did you see any of that information?
The Iranians have been working on increasing their military capabilities. And remember, this was supposed to be military capabilities, at least on the nuclear front, that the president himself said were obliterated based upon the strike of 7 months ago. I saw no intelligence that Iran was on the verge of launching any kind of preemptive strike against the United States of America.
None.
None.
Shocker. Dude, it's just because Netanyahu saw his chance and he took it. That's it. Netanyahu saw his chance and he took it. And he even admits on video that this has been a 40-year dream of his. He's been yearning for it, is what he said. I mean, come on.
Let's also be clear. I've said before, I've said now, there was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians.
Yeah. This war is for nothing. This war is quite literally for nothing.
can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Why don't you, are you serious right now about that whole thing? I'm not going to list out exact
No, I mean, just
specific locations. They've literally been responsible for sponsored terrorism.
Are you talking about the Iraq War where the U.S. invaded Iraq?
You can start out by the 3 that they just killed. Okay, the whole point of your network, if you want to actually talk about the facts here, I'm giving you the facts. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about something that's commonly accepted and known.
Congresswoman, you don't have a good understanding of the
I'm the one that's getting the briefings, not you. You're a pundit offering your opinion because you want clickbait, but aren't actually interested in the substance.
No, not at all.
We can talk about the fact that Obama sent millions upon millions of dollars to the Iranian regime, or do you not want to address that because it's not supported by your opinion and your network?
No, not at all.
Is this really even something that we're going to actually get to substance, or are you going to continue to attack this?
No, it seems like you just want to filibuster. It seems like you don't really want to have a good faith conversation.
Or you just don't like what I'm saying.
No, we would have invited you on the air.
This happens every time I'm on with you.
Yeah, you keep coming on every time, and you keep stating a lot of things that are incorrect.
Because
the United States launched an attack on Iran.
About it, except for you.
The United States launched a war against Iran right now. Iran retaliated, in which American members.
Strikes.
You can call it whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, the Iranians responded and killed 3 American service members. So what we're trying to get at is you make an assertion on this air that it's not an invasion when America sends fighter jets and Israel sends fighter jets into another country.
Boots on the ground are not going to happen.
So the general consensus here right now is that Congress keeps saying that it's not a war. And the administration keeps saying it is a war. And I think that's because Congress is trying to prevent a situation where the Supreme Court steps in and goes, yeah, you can't launch a war without congressional approval. Even Congress is saying, you know, if the Congress is calling it a war, the Supreme Court can probably be like, hey, this is a war. If 2 chambers are so far agreeing that this is a war, but there was no vote held, this is an illegal war by American standards. And so Iran, in response, immediately closes the Strait of Hormuz. And you're wondering, that is right here, right there where this purple line is. And so, what do you know? Gas prices in this country have already shot way up. My gas yesterday was almost $3.50. It was almost a whole $1 cheaper last week. This is going to have effects on people, you know. This is going to have total effects on people. You know, after Israel and the U.S., you know, shot missiles at Iran. I'm getting a phone call. I'm not going to answer that. After they shot missiles at Iran, Iran retaliated. Here's where they fired a missile at a naval base.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Bahrain. And Iran actually kind of scattershotted it. They shot at multiple U.S. ally areas. You know, they even shot a what seems to be a missile near the Burj Khalifa, which is pretty nuts. Yeah, there's multiple clips of them blowing stuff up. Here's a journalist who stupidly ended up posting where one of the Israeli Iron Dome launch sites is. Now, if you're Iran, you know where you're going to strike next. Now, oh, there's more. There's missiles in Tel Aviv.
I just while we're talking here, you can hear the air raid sirens have started again here in Tel Aviv. People are in bomb shelters at this very moment, and I'm just going to keep looking off as I speak to you here so we can get an understanding of where the incoming fire is located. Look, right now the Israelis understand that this is going to cost something. War is never easy. It's not going to be easy for the United States or for Israel, but they are doing what they can to neutralize the threat from the Iranian regime. We know that President Trump was very clear. He is calling on the people. And just stay with me here. We have interceptor rounds coming off right now to shoot down this incoming balloon across the city. As air defense systems 3, 4. There are currently 4 different interceptors, from what I can see, that are chasing down these balloons.
For Israelis, how does this feel? Your government tells you your whole life that your neighbors in the region are all trying to kill you because you're Jewish, and that they must bomb everyone and everything in that region, neutralize everybody. But as a result, you as a Jewish person have probably come to Israel because you've been convinced throughout your life that Israel is the safest place for Jewish people to live. You know, it's a place to keep Jews safe, to protect them. You know, another Holocaust will never happen ever again. And that's what Israel is meant to prevent. But it seems like every year or so, you've got those air raid sirens going off in Tel Aviv. You know, there's constantly a bomb coming towards Israel that the Iron Dome has to try to catch. And so, where do you draw the line there? At what point do you go, maybe I was lied to? You know, maybe it's just possible I was lied to about this whole project. Because Israel gets itself into some shit all the time, and they always call victim. They always call themselves victims. I'll show that one after. They always call themselves victims in all of this. Keep in mind how much shit that missile had to pass through to get there, by the way. So I think Israel and the US underestimated Iran and its technological capabilities. I think they didn't think about the fact that this wouldn't last like a day or two, that it's probably going to last like months. That it's clear right now that Iran is just trying to deplete the Iron Dome, and they know that the Iron Dome is low on munitions because they just had to pull a threat out of South Korea and send it to Israel. You know, they know that we're low on missiles, on on defense missiles that are meant to destroy oncoming missile fire. And I think they know this. Here, I have a clip of a missile hitting near Jerusalem. Actually, I need to show the whole video. Let me show the whole video. Let me make sure this video is like up to date. Fragment from ooh, okay. Okay. Let me show you the whole video.
Oh my God.
Do you see all these Iron Dome missiles? All missing this one missile.
Oh my God! Yo! No way!
This guy's American, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. But so is the Prime Minister, so he fits right in.
No way! Oh my God! No way! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh, holy fuck! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Yo! Oh my God!
You
Oh
notice
my
he went
God!
to Israel being like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome," and now he's having to deal with missile fire. This man has experienced what most Americans will never experience, more than likely. Now, I will say, first of all, here's the damage.
We're here at the site of a ballistic missile impact in Tel Aviv.
If you're wondering why you never see Israeli damage sites, it's because the Israeli government doesn't usually allow this. They thought this would garner sympathy for them, and instead it's made people go and rally behind Iran, behind Iran, because they realize what Iran's capable of.
The incoming fire is making it challenging because these first responders have to keep.
But I have to be kind of withholding with this kind of footage. Like, I have to kind of, it's good for your mental health to take breaks. I woke up abruptly this morning before my alarms went off. I didn't look at what time it was. I opened my eyes and I was like, whoa. And then I tried to go back to sleep. And it's because in my dream, missiles started coming down. There's an air raid siren, missiles in the sky, and I watched American Iron Dome style missiles fire up into the sky and miss. And the missile slammed down, like right in front of me. And I just shot my eyes open. And I was like, ooh, that was my dream last night. Please limit how much you watch some of this stuff and balance it with other things so you kind of keep a healthy balance with it. Because my God, I think this is like really fucking with my head. Knowing that we're now going to enter another forever war with Iran. I'm having my Iraq moment. This is me realizing that we are going to war with another Middle Eastern nation. Which I presume is how a lot of leftists felt when we invaded Iraq. For similarly flimsy reasons, by the way. Here's the Israeli foreign minister kind of just getting grilled by Channel 4.
We are aiming at military targets. But the Iranian regime is targeting our civilians, our children, our women, our elderly. But this is not only happening here in Israel. Countries act targeted. We don't have any. The only quarrel.
Get to the questions a little bit.
Clearly done. Khomeini, the Iranian regime, have clearly done terrible things, particularly to their own people. But your prime minister is a wanted war criminal. You don't have the moral high ground here at all.
This is a war crime. This is a war crime. Targeting civilians.
You know what's insane is that if you removed these two and just showed this background on its own without the Tel Aviv marker, I would think this is footage of Gaza. I would think that I'm looking at a piece of footage from Gaza. So yeah, it does kind of hurt when you get a taste of your own medicine, doesn't it? Doesn't that kind of hurt when you get a small little taste of your own medicine?
Targeting elderly women, killing, murdering her caregiver from the Philippines. And the Iranian regime is targeting not only us in Israel, they are targeting the entire region.
What about the 100 or so schoolgirls in Iran that have been killed in a strike there?
And this must stop. This must be stopped, and this is what we're trying to do. Yes, next question, please.
Completely avoids the airstrike question, by the way. Because Israel is only good at one thing, and it's killing children. Here's the Iranian foreign minister on NBC News.
So for clarity, you said that your missiles cannot reach the United States by design, that you do not want to reach the United States, but you also said it would be necessary as a defensive vehicle that you could if necessary. So to be clear, are you committing that Iran is not and will not build missiles that would have the capability to reach the United States?
I can confirm, yes.
Sir, if that's a red line for you, why is attacking U.S. military bases abroad justified?
I despise American media. Because when America does something, it's righteous and just. But when a foreign nation retaliates, it's an attack on our sovereignty. It's a moral outrage. I hate how that question's framed.
But because they are attacking us. They are U.S. military, installations, facilities, bases who are attacking us. We are under attack. Why don't you, recognize this fact? We are under the attack by U.S. forces in the region. So we have every right to defend ourselves. And how to defend ourselves? We attacked, the U.S. bases. This is obvious. This is a very simple fact. And I hope that, and I'm sure that people would understand that. We are not the one who attacked Americans. We are only defending ourselves.
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, American media is so complicit in our war crimes abroad. I really do. I love it when I editorialize in the doc. I really do hate some of the stuff we do in this country sometimes. And that's an understatement. That's me being civil about it. This is why we can't have good roads, health care, good education that's affordable. That's why we can't have any of this. Because we are too busy blowing billions of dollars, trillions of dollars on endless war.
Israel decided, it's a really good idea to blow up a oil depot in Iran, in Tehran specifically. So here's a photo of that oil depot on fire. Here are the consequences of something like this, is that this will now go up into the atmosphere, cloud over the city, and then rain down toxic oil all over the 9 million people living in Tehran. Not only will this raise your gas prices, they're using your tax dollars to do it. Paying your taxes to raise your gas prices. Isn't that awesome? Here's some footage, because we really need to talk about this one. This one should be a war crime. It should be a war crime to shower 9 million people in oil. Here's some footage of the burning oil facility. I mean, this was an insane explosion. This was a huge escalation from Israel. It's stuff like this that got Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. And here's a series of photos and videos of the morning after the strike. Because this shows you the real consequences. Here's the dark oil cloud that shrouds over Tehran. Right here, here's this guy's car covered in oil from the explosion. Now, let me remind you, Tehran's a pretty beautiful city. I've used photos of Tehran in thumbnails before. That was the first time. I believe I used it in the episode where I talked about the 12-Day War. But I've also used it in the last time I talked about Iran 2 years ago as well, because it seems like every year I have to talk about Iran. I've used photos of Tehran in thumbnails. Tehran's a pretty place. You know, let me pull up one of my old thumbnails. Because, you know, Tehran's a nice looking place. It's really sad. You know, the way that Israel just wants to turn everything into like garbage, mush, gunk. Here's a photo that I used in a thumbnail a couple of years ago of Tehran. Look at that, man. Huge mountains in the back. Behind this mountain range is a large body of water. Iran has a really unique set of geography, you know, like this is one of the more green areas of Iran that gets lots of rain. You can see the snow caps of the mountains in the back. I mean, this is a pretty city. And now contrast it with this video of that same city. I gotta quit whistling through my teeth, man. This is really bad. See that gap? It hasn't gotten any bigger. I've probably been doing this my whole life and I haven't even realized it. Yeah. It's so sad. But this is what Israel does. Israel comes in and makes everything a mess and uninhabitable. Just because they can. Because you're a perceived enemy of theirs. Here's oil flooding the streets of Tehran. And so there's a CNN reporter in Iran right now. And he's on the ground. I mean, I'm pretty sure he lives there. So here's a reporter that's in Tehran.
This is what Tehran is waking up to this morning. The sky above the city is covered in very thick black clouds. You can see that everywhere. That's the west of the city over there, and this is the north of the city. Normally, if you look to that direction, you could actually see the Alborz Mountains, but now all of that is also covered in clouds. That comes after major airstrikes in the south and the west of the city happened last night, where oil installations were hit, oil storage facilities. Apparently also a refinery might have been hit as well. And now you can see this morning that the sky is still very dark. We saw thick black plumes of smoke in the sky yesterday. There were massive fires in the south of the city. But I want to show you something else, because it's also raining. But you can see that the rain water is actually black, also saturated, it appears, with oil. And then if we look over there, you can see that the water that's running down here also is black. So that's what's coming down this morning. This sort of oil-filled rain that we have right now on the Iranian capital after those strikes took place.
Think about that, man. They've just basically destroyed the lives of millions. Because they want to destroy Iran. Israel wants to destroy Iran. Yeah. People wonder why Greta Thunberg became an anti-war activist. It's because war is inherently tied to environmental disaster. War has worsened carbon emissions in our atmosphere. You know, they said that the bombs that Israel was dropping on Gaza were creating massive amounts of a carbon footprint, of emissions, just poisoning the atmosphere in the area. You know, I love it when the West wants to be like, look, in China, they're wearing masks. They can't breathe because of all the factory emissions. We're dropping bombs on people. We're killing people and destroying the environment at the same time.